30th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we continue Getting Into It Week with Getting Into Anime.
Let's do this.
So, at long last, the saga of Rim's computer is nearing its conclusion. Not going to talk about it. Suffice to say, had Scott not had the good grace to decide to drive me up to buy another power supply just now, I would probably not be doing the show because I'd just be stewing in my own anger.
And instead, we're here really late, starting the show at like 10, so it's going to be a quick show.
Best of all, we thought, we'll just eat on the way home. But all the quick food places that weren't fast food were closed because it was late, and we're not in New York City. We're upstate where everything closes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
People really got to keep shit open if they want to make money.
I really miss the days when I was in college, and if it was 2:45 in the morning, and I wanted some falafel or a chicken pita, I could go to the pita pit and get it, and then get a fresh donut right next door at the Krispy Kreme.
Yep. Those are the days.
Those were good days.
All right, well, let's get right into it here, so I can go to bed. News. Anime Expo, a convention we've never been to that we often say not the greatest things about, even though we've never been there.
Granted, we've said not the greatest things about a great many conventions in the past, so it's no really big skin off of Anime Expo's back.
Yeah, but it is the biggest anime convention in the U.S., even though the actual size of it may be up for debate. It is the biggest. And they have announced possibly the biggest event ever.
I mean, before this, I think that the Lark concert at Otakon was probably one of the biggest, just in terms of the sheer excitement and how many people came to Otakon just to see them, and how many people flew from Japan to Baltimore just to see them in Baltimore.
Yep. Well, there is a new band, I'm pretty sure it's new, that is going to perform at Anime Expo on June 29th, 2007. The band is called Skin. The four members of the band, I only know two of them, but the fact that I know two of them is kind of crazy.
Yeah, Scott doesn't listen to so much of the J-pop or the, most of the J-rock.
Yeah. The two band members I do not know are Sugizo and Miyavi. So
I know Miyavi.
Who is that?
Popular.
Okay. The two members of the band that I do know are Gact. You know who's Gact.
Yeah, now I'll point out that Gact Gact alone would have been a big deal, and a lot of people would have been really excited about that.
Yeah, he's a crazy, awesome guy. And Yoshiki, who was at Otakon, right? But didn't actually perform there, if I remember correctly.
I didn't actually see him,
Me
but
either.
I'm pretty sure he was there.
But you've got those four people have combined to make one band. It's like...
Man.
It's sort of like, imagine if, I don't know, like...
John
Lennon.
John Bonham.
Elton John and...
Maynard.
Jimi Hendrix, and it's like an all-star band, in a way. And I'm pretty sure this is their first performance ever at Anime Expo in the U.S., which is stupidly crazy.
I can't imagine how... We should have a betting pool on how many people at Anime Expo are going to be Japanese citizens who have flown to America for this concert and this concert alone.
I'd bet at least 1,000.
Yeah.
At least.
And that's a pretty conservative estimate here.
Pretty conservative. Probably 2,000. But yeah, this is crazy. There's not much else I can say about it except it's absolutely insane.
I think...
And you should be aware of it, especially if you're on the West Coast.
I wouldn't be surprised if the generally extremely warm reception that Japanese bands get when they come to the U.S. and perform at conventions is not pushing more of the bigger names to want to come to the U.S. to do concerts.
It could be. And better for us.
Yeah, even though they still don't quite get that Americans aren't willing to pay, $35 for a CD.
Yeah. But you know what? Otakon still has not announced its musical acts, if I am correct. And it just might be the same. They might come across. Who knows?
Oh, is that your speculation?
It's a slight speculation.
I don't stand by that speculation. However, were that the case,
I give it a 20% chance.
I don't know what I'd do because Otakon's already pretty badass, even though they never answer my goddamn emails.
Yeah, Otakon, the biggest, best convention on the East Coast, doesn't answer email. But the tiny-ass conventions, they answer the email right away.
Yeah. Honestly, though, it's not... I mean, I can't say, it's just this year. Otakon has never really gotten back with me.
I think that's Otakon's number one problem. I mean, they seem to do everything else well, except answer people's email.
Yeah. I mean, God, the New York Anime festival, which isn't going to be until December, and hasn't really got anything together yet at all, and is super corporate. They got back with me immediately. Like every time I email them, they respond immediately.
Yep.
Kineticon's the same way. Anime Next.
So it's not just because Otacon's fan-run they can't respond to email. There are fan-run conventions that respond to the email. It's just Otacon.
Granted, Anime Next didn't respond either, but I only tried once through a web form, and...
Yeah, you can't go through a web form. But if you actually email an actual person, and that person is the person, and they don't reply, that's a problem.
Well, honestly, the reason I didn't follow up with Anime Next was that after the sheer amount of crap we're doing at Kineticon and the New York Anime Festival, and theoretically Otakon, I'm not actually sure anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I'm really prepared vocally, physically, to do Kineticon and Otakon and Anime Next all in the same stint.
Yeah, besides, I was only planning, even if we were doing stuff at Anime Next, I was only planning to go for, like, you know, the day on Saturday, or look at the schedule, see what's happening, and pick the day with the best event to go to, or something like that. You know, maybe it'll be Sunday, who knows.
But yeah, we're probably going to talk about Anime Expo a little bit more in another episode in the news, because looking at their website, they've definitely kicked it up a notch this year.
Yeah, and while I don't know if previous things we've said about the convention are true or false, because we've never been there.
However, most of
But
those are based
looking-
on firsthand accounts from people we know.
Yes, but looking at the list of things that they're doing at the next Anime Expo at the end of this month, it's looking like something I would definitely want to be at. Based on the events alone.
The only problem with going to the Anime Expo...
It's on the other side of the country?
No, that's not really the big issue. Because I love the East Coast, and there's only really 3 things on the West Coast that really pull me out that way. And they're momentary things, transient things, like the San Diego Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm going to go to the West Coast for a convention, it's not going to be for anything but PAX, which is probably, in terms of desire to go versus... I don't know, pain felt by not going.
Yep.
I want to go to Penny Arcade Expo more than I want to go to any convention, and yet it's just so inconvenient to go. It's always at the worst time. It's so far away.
Like if I was going to go to Anime Expo, right, that would mean that I'm already going to PAX, and I'm still willing to go to the West Coast again. And then if I was going to go to the San Diego Comic-Con, it would be because I'm willing to go to the West Coast 3 times in one summer. You know, and it's like, you know, sure, you might say, why don't you go to one summer, one the next summer, and one the next summer? Well, if I was going to do that, I would go to PAX, and PAX.
Yes, because when the first PAX happened, I thought, oh, I wish I could go to that, but I didn't really think anything of it, because Otakon is freaking amazing. Like, Otakon is still my mecca when it comes to geekery.
But then we saw what happened at the first PAX. We saw the aftermath.
Yeah, because PAX is just, I think it's the best geek convention out there, because it's not really...
And I can tell just from looking at what happens there based on reports.
Because PAX is doing for video game cons and webcomic cons what Otakon and all the big anime cons
it's pretty much
did for
just a
anime.
video game con.
But while it's a video game con, you know, with my fingers in
and
the air,
tabletop.
it's effectively a geek con. A lot of people go who aren't super into video games. I mean, how many people read Penny Arcade who don't actually play a lot of video games? Penny Arcade's just that funny.
Yeah, a lot of people. But they at least know about video games.
Yeah.
All
or
right.
at least they're in that geeky kind of culture.
Let's hurry up.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really not going to bother doing the news because I want to get to the main bit. And the motherboard that for the first time since the May 7th when I ordered it.
It wouldn't boot with the fancy Antec power supply, but it boots with a piece of shit, overpriced Best Buy power supply.
I went and bought like one of those off-brand crappy power supplies, and it works just fine.
It was the best thing Best Buy had.
Yes. Well, sadly, Best Buy advertised better things that apparently they don't actually carry.
Oh well.
Yeah. So we'll get right to the chase here. Things of the day. Since we're moving along right quick here, I'm sure many of you are aware of this, but it's possible that you aren't. And even if you aren't, it's doubtful, well, even if you are, it's doubtful that you probably spent the amount of time watching these things that we did in college, particularly late at night when we were bored, the night was winding down.
Well, in the days before YouTube, right, you had actual little video clips that you would download and store on your computer.
Yeah,
and you had a folder full of funny clips.
Every person had like their personal collection. It was like everyone had their own equivalent of anime hell on their person. And whenever you're at someone's house, and obviously it's college, so, 3 a.m. rolls around, you've run out of stuff to talk about, you don't feel like playing games anymore.
So some guy opens up his miscellaneous video folder and plays everything.
So you watch Puddle Jumper, and you watch Butt Hot Dog, and you watch Chaos 9000, or Death Chaos 9000, all those things.
Yep.
And one of the things that was in my collection were all of the Celebrity Jeopardy skits from Saturday Night Live, which is still, in my opinion, the best of Saturday Night Live ever.
Yeah, me too.
Well, except for the Blues Brothers.
Oh, yeah, that too.
But that's indirectly out of Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
Anyway, of those, I think Sean Connery, or Sean Connery, the character, was perhaps the funniest bit. And someone has
doubt.
made an SNL compilation of all the Sean Connery bits from all of the SNL Celebrity Jeopardy bits.
I'll take the rapist for 900.
You'll rue the day, Trebek.
Yeah. So that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. We'll do a show on that or something someday.
This whole
I don't
show
know.
on that one thing.
Well, no, a show on, I don't know, comedy we like.
Oh, it could be a
We
good
can
show.
do a show on that because we talk about Monty Python,
That's
talk
a good
about
Thursday.
SNL, talk about stand-up comedians, the
Yeah.
whole thing.
All right, it sounds like a good Thursday. All right.
Yeah, but watch this video. It's funny, especially if you've never seen these before.
All right, now, here's something that's pretty funny. I was going to save this until we did a Pokemon show, but I'll just use it now because I'm lazy. You might know that Pokemon is a game, and it is an RPG, and it does have leveling,
Splash attack.
and it does have the grind, which I am not a fan of. If you have heard me rant about World of Warcraft and its grind, I do not like the grind.
Never mind the spelling error. That I'm not going to talk about it yet on the show. If anyone out there will point out the spelling error in the new Pokemon or the old Pokemons, I'll be thankful. But it pisses me off to the point that I feel dirty playing the game.
Wow, that's pretty rough.
It really bothers me when I run into something like that in a video game, especially a Nintendo game. Except for old Nintendo games with bad localizations, but that's different.
Right. Now, the only reason I say Pokemon is playable is because it is the grind with a little bit on the side that makes it actually not a grind. But
Well, there's also the fact that, unlike a lot of MMOs, Pokemon does have extensive endgame combat. Well, combat content. That content being the cockfighting on the internet or the cockfighting with friends at conventions, which is the only
which
reason.
is not entirely a battle of who has higher level stuff.
Also, there's nothing more fun and social than what I expect will be happening at Otakon this year when I whip out my Pokemons, wandering around, and fight with 12-year-old kids with their Pokemons.
Yep. And that's what makes Pokemon acceptable despite its grinding, which is not pleasant. But
Yeah, I mean, if World of Warcraft is below the line, Pokemon is so barely above the line.
it's just barely above the line. But here's a guy who has found a way to solve at least some of the grinding problem in Pokemon. You might know that in Pokemon, there are certain Pokemons which will evolve only when they are very happy. So you have like a Golbat, and it won't turn into a Crobat until it really loves you.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah. And one way to make Pokemon love you is to carry them around and keep walking.
Well, the other way is illegal in most states.
Yes. But if you keep spending time with Pokemon, they will fall in love with you and they will like you very much. So, what this guy did is there's a gym leader in the game. And in this gym leader's gymnasium, there are these arrows on the ground which will force you to move in certain directions. So, he went to this gym and he found a good position. And he took 2 wrenches and he held down the down arrow and the B button on his DS Lite and plugged the DS into the wall. And basically, by doing this, he was able to force his character to walk infinitely. And thus, over the course of a few hours, while he went away and actually, spent time doing real things,
Lived his real life.
lived his real life, he was able to evolve 6 Pokemon.
Huh. I guess that epitomizes everything that's wrong about games like Pokemon.
Yeah, this is why grinding is bad. If it's just a matter of spending time holding down buttons, what the fuck is the point in making a person do that? I don't understand what the people who design such a mechanic into a game are thinking.
That's why more and more, I wish
I even understand less people who actually do this sort of thing manually. What kind of lives are they living where they have nothing better to do than hold down 2 buttons and wait?
Granted, at least Pokemon sets it up so that it's very easy to play Pokemon while living your normal life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just sit there while I'm doing just about anything to level these stupid things up so I can be done
I think
with
that
it.
is the main difference with Pokemon is that it's such like a side. It's like you could do it out of the corner of your eye. You just carry it around with you with like one hand on it, just pushing buttons without looking.
I mean, look at us playing Wesnoth. It's me, Alex, and Scott, and we're playing Wesnoth. We're all also playing Pokemon.
Yep. Whereas World of Warcraft seems to be a thing that demands your entire attention, or at least more attention than Pokemon.
Yeah, I guess the people who really play a lot of WoW, I know for a fact that they tend to watch movies and stuff in the corner while they're playing.
Yeah, but a movie is something I like to give full attention to also, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe a crap movie, or something I've seen before, or like a Simpsons,
Yeah, something like that.
a Day Killer.
Even so, World of Warcraft demands more attention than Pokemon, and Pokemon is barely over the line, and World of Warcraft is under the line.
Yeah, barely under the line because it's better than all those other MMOs.
That's for sure. It is above all the other MMOs, but still not enough.
'Cause
Pokemon is almost so bad it's unplayable, but it makes it over. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that more in our Pokemon
Yeah, we
show.
will, because the fact that I'm playing Pokemon says a lot, because I hate games like that.
Oh, yeah.
And Pokemon infuriates me slightly less than it entertains me.
Yep. that sums it up right there. All right.
So, the meat of the show.
Gonna do this quick.
All right.
It's still getting into it week, the week in which we tell you how to get into various geekeries or get your friends into various geekeries.
You might remember last Wednesday when we talked about how to get into a throat infection.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Right.
Scott is just starting to recover from it. I'm finally
I didn't have a throat infection.
Well, no, you had the nose infection.
Yep.
I had the...
Basically, I'm at the stage where my head is full of mucus and I can't get it out.
I think you should take one more NyQuil and then you'll be fine.
There's no more NyQuil left.
You drank it all? Well, there wasn't
There
much
was only
left.
one dose left.
Because I drank most of that bottle when I was sick.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to tell you what we didn't tell you how to get into last week. Is how to get into the A-Knives. I've noticed a lot of people who became Geeknights listeners because they like the video games or the board games or, you know, they like the technology. And then they crossed over into the anime from listening to the Anime Nights.
Yeah, actually, in general, a lot of people email us constantly saying, hey, I'd listen for the one day, but then you got me into something else. And I guess that's great because that's what we're really a proponent of. I mean, we're geeks. And geekery is a really broad thing. I mean, there are sports geeks and there are athletics geeks and there's everything geek. You star geek.
Yep.
And the fact that it's not just video games and anime. However, for all of you out there who are not anime geeks, it's very easy to get into anime.
I think that's why a lot of people have a lot of people weren't able to get into like role playing or German board game easily. So they really need an episode from us to help out. They really needed a Linux episode to help out. But anime is kind of easy to get into. Thus, we can do this episode quickly, and thus many people who listen to the show have already gotten into it without our specific help.
Now, what I wanted to say first, and this is before we go into anything else, this is kind of important, and it's a distinction that really needs to be noted. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that anime is somehow a genre. Anime is nothing more than a medium. So, a lot of people who don't know anything about anime will hear about it and have some sort of opinion based on what they've heard before.
Yeah, anime is all that crazy, violent, super gory stuff that kids shouldn't be watching.
Yeah.
Or, all anime is that Japanese cartoon porn. Or, all anime is that cutesy-wootsy, big eyes, small mouth bullshitty crap.
Yep, or it's all the seizure robots or the Pokemons or whatever.
Guess what? It's all those things and more.
Yep. I mean, I actually got a fair number of people back when I worked at IBM into anime. And all you have to do is explain to people, and as we're explaining to you, don't think of it like anime is different from any other movie. It's the same as any movie you've ever seen or any TV show you've ever seen. It just happens to have been made in a foreign country, and it just happens to be animated instead of filmed with people.
And it happens to be originally cast in a foreign language.
Well, I said it was foreign.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's anime that are about science fiction. There are anime that are about crazy, stupid fighting.
There's horror anime. There's comedy.
Horror, there's comedy. There's everything. And whatever your taste is, there is, you might not like one anime or another, but there's probably for every person who enjoys watching video, there's probably an anime out there for them.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people who like to say something like, oh, I hate anime, or I hate all this anime crap.
That's like saying I hate movies.
Or I hate books, or I hate...
Yeah. there's a book out there you like. You might really not like complicated books, but I'm sure there's like some Star Wars novel you'll enjoy.
And it's not
something.
And it's not like and by the same token, if I like anime, it doesn't mean I like all anime.
I hate most anime.
Yeah, me too. So did Dave and Joel. So did Anime World
So
Order.
does pretty much any anime fan hates most anime.
In fact, if anything, anime fans probably hate most anime more than non-anime fans.
Yeah, probably.
But saying...
Or at least their hate is targeted or known as opposed to a generic, not accurate hate. It's a very real hate.
Yeah. So bear that in mind. If you have ever thought that you wouldn't like anime for any reason at all, that reason's probably BS because there's no unifying characteristic of anime other than that it happens to be animated.
Yeah, I mean, you might say, oh, I hate that cutesy crap. Well, I also hate most of the cutesy animes. Not all of them, but most of them. And you might not like cutesy animes, but you know what? There's plenty of non-cutesy anime you just don't know about and haven't experienced, and you're just being, closed-minded and avoiding it.
Now, too, the other excuse a lot of people like to bring up is they'll say something like, well, I don't like the culture around anime, or I don't like anime fans, or I don't like anime conventions, or I don't like something about anime that isn't it.
Well, who says you have to do any of those things?
Yeah, I mean, most people who watch anime don't go to anime cons, don't post in anime forums, don't have anime merchandise. They watch anime in the same way that people out there watch 24 or American Idol or Boondock Saints.
They just watch Adult Swim and they like it, and that's that. They don't, maybe they'll buy a DVD now and then or Netflix a series if they miss some episodes on TV or who knows.
So don't decide you're not going to get into anime just because you don't like the people who are into anime, because those people have nothing to do with you. Just watch your movie and don't worry about that.
Yep.
So, all that aside, the biggest problem with getting into anime is that if you ask an anime fan, the average man on the street, as was evidenced in our forum, all right, I'm new to anime, I'm game, what should I watch?
Well, depending on who you ask, you might get a sarcastic answer. They might say, oh, go watch
Orotsuka Doji,
which is not something anyone needs to watch. Or they'll say, oh, go watch my favorite show. My favorite show is Excel Saga. And there's some crazy anime fans. You're not going to like their favorite show. Their favorite show is going to seem like crazy stupid to you.
Most of the suggestions people give are really kind of bad because while anime is not a genre, it's like with movies or anything else. There are some movies that can't really be appreciated unless you have a wealth of knowledge of other movies. There are some TV shows that really aren't interesting unless you know something about the basis of the TV show. You have some investment in it.
Yeah, like Genshiken is a great anime, but you will not understand it unless you are an anime fan.
Yes, watching Genshiken and not being an anime fan already is like watching a 26-episode documentary on baseball if you hate baseball.
Or you don't know how the game of baseball is played.
Yes.
It just won't work. So, if you're going to get into anime, sort of the first thing you have to do is figure out which anime is for you. Luckily, there are some anime that are for everybody.
Yep, now before we even get into that even, what kind of movies do you like? What kind of TV shows do you like? Find anime that are like that. If you like action movies, get an action anime. If you like horror, find a horror anime.
Yeah. But anyway, there are few and far between anime fans out there like us who will correctly tell you which animes to watch. Basically, you can start out. There are 3 places to go for an anime that just about everyone will enjoy. The number 3 place to go is the man we talk about quite often, Satoshi Kon.
Satoshi Kon is a genius. Satoshi Kon is one of my heroes.
Yes, Satoshi Kon is an artistic genius beyond most people currently alive on this planet. He is like almost a Da Vinci of anime. Perhaps on the level of Michelangelo.
Granted, he hasn't done a lot yet, but everything he's done is amazing. And I really want to see, 10 years from now, when his body of work is more filled out, exactly what he's capable of. I'm also really looking forward to Paprika.
Yeah, we're going to see it this weekend. So, there's basically, he's made like 4 movies, I think, and 1 TV series. But if you're new to anime, you want to get into it, I recommend you watch his movie Tokyo Godfathers before you watch his other movies.
Now, granted, Tokyo Godfathers is a lighthearted, but yet sometimes serious and poignant comedy slice of life. Well, not really slice of life, more like adventure.
Yeah.
It kind of crosses genre boundaries, but it's generally lighthearted and just enjoyable.
Yep, and it's definitely able to be enjoyed, depending, no matter which country you're from or what language you speak or anything. There's not too much that's Japanese in it.
Yes. Now,
This could be any city on the whole planet.
Yep. Now, by the same token, another thing that he has done is called Perfect Blue. Now, if you're into horror, if you're into psychological thrillers, if you like Hitchcock movies or Vincent Price, anything scary like that or frightening or disturbing like that, Perfect Blue, it's my favorite Satoshi Kon work, hands down.
I don't know. I might be able to say that, even though I like Tokyo Godfathers the most. But here we go again. We just said anime fans will just tell you what they like the most, and here we are saying what we like the most.
Yeah, I don't want to try to say that what we like is good, because I'll say I like a lot of things that I'm not going to bring up in this show.
Oh, I definitely like a lot of things I'm not going to bring up.
You don't want to be watching Initial D as your first anime.
No, you do not.
That is not going to be an enjoyable experience.
If you're a guy who really likes
true.
race cars and car racing and upbeat, high-energy music, Initial D might be a good anime for you.
Actually, if you're... I'm not making fun of you. If you're a ricer and you're into, riced up cars and souped up cars and drifting and all that
if like
stuff.
a Honda Civic with a big wing on the back really turns you on, go watch Initial D.
You'll become an anime fan in 2 seconds if you watch Initial D in that case.
I know lots of people, like I've run into them all over the place, who they're fans of Initial D, but they're not anime fans. They just really like Initial D and race cars and all that stuff. All right, so, yeah, Satoshi Kon, he makes a lot of great movies, and 2 of his movies, Perfect Blue and Tokyo Godfathers, are really good entry points into anime. But after Satoshi Kon, there's another better entry point into anime. And specifically, TV anime. This is the only TV anime we're going to talk about, you see, because anime, there's anime movies, which are much easier for people to get into because people are already used to movies. People are not used to watching a TV series that is 26 half-hour episodes that all have to be watched in order.
Now, granted, this is starting to change very recently in the United States, where serial television is coming back, and now there's shows like Battlestar Galactica and Lost and Firefly.
Yeah, but they're not
on.
26 episode beginning, middle, end deals. They go on after season after season after season,
Yeah, but at the same time, there's serial, which is a big step.
Yep.
Because there weren't so many serious serials back in the day.
Well, there were, and they went away, and now they're coming back.
Exactly. I'm saying there was this time, kind of like co-op gaming, where they kind of fell by the wayside. And I remember in high school how hard it was to convince any of my friends to ever watch a TV show or an anime, because they couldn't understand why watch it all at what they just didn't get it.
Yep. So because watching a serial TV show like this is sort of alien to Americans and people in most other countries other than Japan, and because it's kind of hard to ask someone to start off by watching a show that really requires you to watch 26 episodes in order, there's only one TV show that we recommend that is good as a starting place for an anime viewer, and that show is obviously Cowboy Bebop.
Now, the best thing about Cowboy Bebop, aside from the fact that pretty much everyone likes it, Cowboy Bebop is, again, it's a fairly genius work.
There are people who don't like it, but they are so few and far between. It is quite crazy. It's fair to say that everyone likes Cowboy Bebop.
I showed my dad Cowboy Bebop. He liked it. I showed a coworker at IBM Cowboy Bebop. He ended up watching all of the rest of it. And not only did he, and this is, a guy with a family, like a normal, not really a geeky guy. He loved it to the point that he actually very specifically pointed out to me a lot of scenes that particularly struck him. And they happen to be a lot of the same scenes that particularly struck us.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop strikes a chord in just about anyone who sees it.
The thing about Cowboy Bebop is that it's sort of the everything show. It's got your sci-fi, it's got your westerns, it's got your action, it's got your mysteries, your intrigue, your drama, it's got cuteness, it's got everything. Everything that you could possibly want in a show. They somehow put it all in one show, but it works together correctly, and it's not some mixy, matchy, like patchwork piece of crap.
It's so beautifully executed, and you'll get to the end, and the end of Cowboy Bebop probably sticks out in the minds of all the people who have seen it as an amazing event. I remember I didn't know how to feel when I'd seen all of Cowboy Bebop the first time.
Yeah, it's like I saw it coming, but I didn't see it coming, and whoa. And the thing about Cowboy Bebop that makes it also great for entry into anime is that while it is 26 episodes that you should probably watch in order, many of the episodes do not contain the main plot. You can just watch them on their own, and they're standalone stories. Like Batman the Animated Series, a standalone story. They're only episodes like 5, I think 13, 14, and 20, and like the last 3 or 4 are actually plot. every other episode, while there's little tidbits of continuity in them, are mostly standalone. So if you watch episodes 1 through 4, or just episode 1, you'll get a whole story in just that episode, and it feels right, and you won't be stuck having to see more of it to figure out if you like it.
Yeah,
or
instead,
anything like
it's
that.
kind of this idea where each individual part is in and of itself very enjoyable, and you'll feel satisfied seeing just it. But the work as a whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yep.
Also, Cowboy Bebop, because it moves pretty quickly and there's a lot of action in it, it's very accessible to just pick up and watch because the first DVD has 5 episodes on it. Those 5 episodes, I practically guarantee anyone who watches those 5 episodes will like Cowboy Bebop by the time they have watched the 5th episode and will want to see the rest of it.
And the 5th episode is something special.
Yeah, I mean, the first episode is actually one of the best episodes in the show, but not for...
Yep.
It's not the best episode in terms of being an enjoyable episode.
It has the best action scene. My favorite action scene, actually.
It has a couple of really good action scenes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about Cowboy Bebop someday.
Yep. But the other thing about Cowboy Bebop, the final thing that makes it good as an entry point, is that the dub is actually good. You see, if you're not an anime fan, you got to realize these things were originally had Japanese voice acting. So if you try to watch them, you could watch them with the original Japanese voice acting and subtitles, which nerds prefer. And in many cases, it's actually probably a good idea. And if you're one of those people who says, I don't want to read my show, you get used to it. Just get over it, all right?
The voice acting in Cowboy Bebop is perfect. I mean, it's great in the first 5 or 6 episodes. Like, it's already well and above the best dub ever then. And it gets better and better and better. And by the end, there's better voice acting in Cowboy Bebop than I've seen in a lot of actual American live-action movies.
Yep. So, even though I say that if you want to get into anime, you should probably get used to subtitles, if you start off with Cowboy Bebop, you don't have to get used to subtitles quite yet. You can decide if you're into this whole anime thing before you start getting used to subtitles. Because Cowboy Bebop, the English and the Japanese languages are both awesome. And in fact, if you speak English as your primary language, I recommend watching the English language version and not having the subtitles, because there are certain episodes where it is superior.
And if you really like action or gun drama or gunplay or anything like that, or you're trying to get someone else into anime who doesn't really like it, but they like violent movies or action movies or whatever, or if you don't have time to watch all 5 episodes of the first DVD of Cowboy Bebop,
Or if you don't have time to watch a movie,
just watch episode 5 of Cowboy Bebop.
or just episode 1.
Yeah, I'd recommend episode 5 because I remember my first experience with Cowboy Bebop was at the RIT Anime Club at their first meeting, and they did something brilliant. They showed 4 different episodes from 4 different anime to get people into anime. And the big one they showed is kind of the climax was episode 5 of Cowboy Bebop. And that was the moment when I went from an anime fan to an anime geek. That exact moment.
I think what you really have to do is, if you're showing Cowboy Bebop to someone to try to get them into anime, you have to decide if they're an episode 1 person or an episode 5 person.
Yeah.
Because if someone's already a geek, they're probably an episode 5 person. If there's someone who likes, like they're intellectual or they like sort of deep, meaningful stuff, they're an episode 5 person. If they're sort of a Schwarzenegger movie person, they're an episode 1 person.
I don't know. I'd say the other way, because episode 1 has an almost Utena-esque level of depth to it.
But I think that it works on the lower level better than episode 5 does.
I don't know, because episode 5 makes up for the lack of action early on with the action scene at the end.
Yeah. Well, it's up to you.
I mean, that
if you're at the point where you're showing Cowboy Bebop to people to, get them into anime, you've seen 1 and 5, and you know which one is probably going to work better on that person.
Yes.
All right.
I think I know where you're going with this, but I'll let you continue.
The last thing, if you want to get into anime.
Number one,
above all, I'm just going to come out with it. Any movie at all that is directed by Hayao Miyazaki. Any single one. Pick one. It doesn't matter. Well, it matters a little. You probably don't want to start with Pompoko.
These are very,
Wait, did he direct that one?
Great to get into, especially if you were trying to get families or younger children in. Because on one hand, I don't want to say these movies are Disney-esque, but they are definitely all ages. And when I say all ages, I don't mean actually for little kids. I mean all ages.
Yes, as in, if you are 2 years old or 200 years old, you will enjoy a Hayao Miyazaki movie, possibly on a different level. In fact, most likely on a different level. But you will enjoy it. That you'd have to be inhuman or some evil prick not to enjoy it.
I mean, particularly just for someone who's never seen anime at all before, I'd probably recommend Spirited Away
Spirited Away is my favorite one.
or Mononoke Hime.
Mononoke Hime is also good.
I really liked Mononoke
Porco
Hime.
Rosso is an excellent choice.
Porco Rosso.
Laputa is an excellent choice.
Laputa's a little long, but
It is a little long.
and it's a little
but the content is good.
yes.
for,
Laputa's great.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know what?
Howl's
All of
Moving
them.
Castle, not so much, but not as much as the other ones, but still great.
Yes, I really enjoyed Howl's Moving Castle, but it wasn't as solid of a screen story as the others that we've mentioned are.
The thing that's great about Hayao Miyazaki's movies is not only do they have some sort of universal appeal, and not only, are they all awesome and can be enjoyed by all ages, but the dubs on them, which Disney has done actually, are actually pretty good and tend to have famous people like Billy Crystal is Calcifer in Howl's Moving Castle, and what's that guy? Billy Bob, whatever.
Thornton?
Yeah, he's in Mononoke Hime, I think. And the voice acting is really good on them, and you can watch the dub.
Yep.
And even people who you can actually show these to people and not get them into anime. Like, you can just show them these movies as they would watch a Disney movie like Aladdin or something.
In fact,
they won't become an anime fan. They'll just enjoy a wonderful animated full-length motion picture with universal appeal.
if you know someone who, for whatever reason, hates anime but hasn't really seen a lot, and you could probably get away with showing them a Miyazaki movie dubbed,
Without letting them know it's anime.
don't tell them it's anime until after they've said they liked it.
Just
And-
say, hey, this is movie Disney put out, or something like that.
yeah, and then at the end, that was anime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
They're
So-
also really easy to get. Like, any store that has DVDs will have Miyazaki movies.
Yep, I'm pretty sure you can even get them at Walmart.
Probably.
All right, so we're not going to linger long on this because we could do shows and shows and shows about anime, as we tend to do. But we've already told you how to wet your teeth on anime. Where do you go from there? Aside from the fact that, pick genres you like in terms of, action, comedy, whatever, and then find anime in those genres and just watch them. I think, like we did with board games, I'd like to give you a general just list of, in a vague order, the big name shows that in my mind really stuck out as further cementing my love of anime, or in some cases actually affecting my worldview, much like great movies do. In general, as much as people malign it, Neon Genesis Evangelion is a huge anime. It's a great anime. And
Let's take turns.
Yeah, all right, so definitely Neon Genesis Evangelion. Again, this is a list of anime. Once you've cut your teeth, you've decided you like some anime, you want to see more. Here's some directions to go in.
Yeah, and plus watching all these different kinds of shows, you'll be able to say, oh, that was a show I didn't like. Like, these are like big ones in specific genres.
Yes.
So if you like one, then you can go deeper into that genre.
Now, a lot of shows, I just will warn you, there's a lot of shows that do things very similar to what Ava did. Because Ava, to not really spoil things, went in a very philosophical direction. And a lot of people say...
very heavy-handed.
A lot of people say that it was shallow. And I don't think it was necessarily shallow. It's just that it's so heavy-handed.
It lays it on so thick.
Yes.
Yeah.
But suffice to say, while some shows may have done what this show did better, I think that Ava is a better show overall. Because a lot of those shows go more heavy-handed or less heavy-handed, and in the end, they lose the message.
Yep. All right, the next show I think that people should at least give a try is if you watch Gundam Seed, the original Gundam Seed.
That's a good
Seed,
one.
Not Gundam Seed Destiny.
Which is garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage.
All right, if you watch Gundam Seed, all right, just watch the first few episodes, and if you're liking where it's going, you're probably someone who's going to like Gundam. And you know what? There's a lot of Gundam out there for you to enjoy.
Yep.
And it's not hard to go and figure out which other Gundams are really great.
Now, even better, say you think the first 4 episodes of Gundam Seed are kind of lame, keep watching because it's not like that for the rest.
Yeah.
It's a totally different show. It's much more about character relationships and drama than it is the stupid robot.
I notice a lot of people who are anime fans, they just go, blah, robots, I don't do robots. Well, if you're one of those people who says, bah, you don't do robots, well, Gundam Seed, if you're gonna like if you're gonna like a robot show, then that's the one you're gonna like, because it's definitely the least robot-y.
I realize most of the anime we're about to bring up involve robots, but yet Here's the thing. There are shows that are about the robots, and there are shows that have robots. Don't confuse the two.
Yes.
Giant Robo is a show about robots.
Yes, Evangelion really isn't a robot show, I would say.
If anything, there's a little hint. Evangelion pretends to be a robot show, and then after it's tricked the robot show people into watching it, it stops being a robot show.
Yep. Yeah, so Gundam Seed, that'll let you know if you might like robot shows.
And even if you don't like the robot show part, you'll still like Gundam Seed, because Gundam Seed is an emotional roller coaster that will leave you feeling mentally exhausted by the end.
Yeah, it's also sort of soap opera-y.
Yes, but it's good.
Yep.
I would definitely recommend Trigun.
Yeah, Trigun.
Trigun is probably one of my favorite anime ever. Now, Trigun's a little silly. It starts out as a comedy. It's really kind of wacky and off the wall, but it's not wacky and off the wall in the way that a lot of modern anime are.
Yeah, it's definitely a post-apocalyptic sci-fi western.
And the thing is, it takes a turn for the serious, and it gets really dark and really philosophical and really good, and it has great action and great characters and great comedy. It's an anime where I will admit that me, Rim, and pretty much everyone else in the front row crew openly cried during.
Yeah. All right, let's see. You should probably, at some point, if you've decided you like anime, you should probably watch Akira. Akira is like the anime movie, period. And while, if you've read the manga, the movie loses a lot for you, which is kind of sad, because I do think the movie is great, but like whenever I watch it, I've read the manga, so it's kind of on me. So I always say, if you haven't read the manga or watch the movie first. That way you can actually get the enjoyment from the awesome movie without having it being ruined by the awesomer manga. But
Yep.
Akira is sort of like this. It's like that's what booted off, anime in the U.S. and basically the current, that was like the start.
It's our generation of anime fans.
That was the Archduke Ferdinand of the current anime.
Yep, and not just the current anime, but the current anime fans, as in people our age,
Yep.
our wave. Because now there's other waves of anime fans, and there were waves before us. But we grew up on the Sci-Fi Network anime and the Akira movie.
Yep. So it's definitely something everyone should see, and whether you like it or not, is up to you. But it's super important, and you should. It's sort of like Citizen Kane. You should watch it whether you like it or not.
Now, a lot of people like fantasy, especially geeks, but there's not a lot of great fantasy out there other than in book form. There's not a lot of great fantasy movies. You could count them on your hands. And while there's a lot of fantasy anime, there's not a lot of good fantasy anime. Now, I hear 12 Kingdom is good, but I haven't seen enough to really say anything.
It's also kind of hard because what we define as fantasy is kind of different. Like, there's a lot of anime that you could call fantasy. Because you could call Bleach fantasy.
Yep, you could call
wanted
Lieutenant
to.
fantasy.
Yeah, but we're talking about high fantasy, like wizards and dragons and knights and that sort of thing.
Now, I would say Slayers. Slayers is funny fantasy. Slayers is, blowing up the inn, beer and pretzels D&D, but it's an anime. And
Yep.
it's a great show. I love it. I absolutely love it. But if you're looking for, straight up semi-hardcore fantasy, a fairly overlooked show now, even though it was absolutely huge when it was out, and it endures to this day, and I think it stands up well against a lot of anime that comes out now, is Vision of Escaflowne.
Mm-hmm.
That is an amazing fantasy anime.
Yep.
It came out back in the Ava days. It's been around for a long time. It's old. You can get the whole thing in a thin pack, super cheap at Best Buy.
Yeah, for like $30, you can have the whole show or something like that.
I can't recommend this show enough.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of things in it that are now cliche in anime, like, transported to another world, obvious romance, people with wings, transforming robots, that sort of thing. But it sort of started a lot of those things, and it doesn't execute anything in a way that seems cliche, even if it was at the time. Let's see. I don't know. Do you want to keep naming shows forever?
Beyond this, if you watch everything that we have just mentioned,
You're probably an anime fan already.
Yeah, by then you'll have figured out what you like and what you don't
it.
like. My only real recommendations from this point on is don't bother about this aspect of it if you watch the things we mentioned early in the show. But if you start watching everything we talked about just now and you start getting into it, that is the point where you want to start, and this is important, pay attention to who did the character designs and who directed the shows you liked versus the shows you didn't like, and that'll give you a lot of direction in terms of what to watch next.
Yep. Also, you can go online and talk to people and listen to podcasts and things and find out, people who liked X also liked Y. I guess I'll probably like Y also. What's similar to this? What's similar to that? And it's not hard once you're into it to figure out which things you will also like.
And I'm sure a lot of you out there are saying, but they didn't say X show, or they didn't say such and such, or whatever.
Yeah, we're going to say every show in the whole world, right?
No, we're just giving you a starting point. If you need more than what we've given you, you're already an anime fan.
Yeah, and if you're not sure, if you're not an anime fan, you're not sure which kind of, or maybe you watched Cowboy Bebop and you like it, but now you don't know where to go. Come into our forum or email us or something and say, these are the kind of movies I like. Real actual live action movies that you like, because everyone has some live action movies they like, and we'll recommend some anime they'll probably like.
Yep. And while a lot of our forum members will probably give advice, I do note that because a lot of people seem to be surprised that we do this, but we actually post in our own forums.
Oh my God.
A lot of people don't. We're there actively.
Yep.
So if you ask this sort of question to us in the forums, we will personally answer.
Probably, if we notice.
Yeah, we'll eventually get to it.
Yeah.
We answer the forums a lot more readily than we answer emails.
Mm-hmm. All right, I don't think I want to talk anymore about this because it's getting late. And
I haven't eaten yet, so.
Yeah, I have to eat something and go to bed.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah, getting into anime is not hard. Oh, and I forgot two things. If you're into anime and you decided you like it, you're either going to want to do one of two things or both. Get Netflix. That way you don't have to buy a whole bunch of DVDs just to watch a show. You buy the shows that you love, that you like, that you want to watch again and again. But if you want to watch a 26-episode show just once, get Netflix. Also, the new shows that are coming out in Japan right now won't be on DVD for many months. So you go on the internet and use BitTorrent to get those episodes with fan subs on them to figure out which ones you like. That way, when they do come out on DVD in the US, you know which one's to Netflix. And you know which one's not to Netflix.
Yep. I mean, as much as I love anime, it's a rare show that will be good enough to get me to watch all the fan subs because I can't wait for the DVDs. Currently, it's just Claymore and Bokurano.
Yeah, mostly Bokurano. I could probably wait for DVDs on Claymore.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to wait for DVDs on Claymore because we got a lot going on in the next couple of months.
Also, I recognized when I went to Best Buy today, I was quite surprised at, how quickly they're getting the anime over this side of the ocean now.
Yeah, I realized a lot of Ergo Proxy is already out on DVD.
Haruhi was on the shelf, and that's a really new show. So, hey, pretty awesome right there. You don't got to wait long to get the stuff in English.
All right, time to eat and go to bed.
Indeed.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.